Welcome back to another episode of Soap Opera September. As you can see, I stopped wearing the Oasis shirt if you've been watching my previous videos, but I didn't take off the bracelet. I don't know when I'm going to take this off. I still think about that day like it was yesterday. When actually, it wasn't yesterday, it was like a day ago. I want to go back! Anyways, I feel like we might have a lot to talk about for this soap opera as well, because the previous video was an hour and 3 minutes long. This one, oh man, this one would have almost been longer if I didn't cut out a certain segment that will be a separate video once the series is over. Just pointing that out there because it is true. So, I don't really want to make a long intro, so I'm just going to say what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the soap opera As the World Turns, which lasted for 54 years and did surpass only by General Hospital, Getting Light, and Days of Our Lives. It was like the fourth running longest soap opera show before it ended in 2010. 2010 is crazy because when you really think about it, I was a kid. I was a baby when they were still airing As the World Turns. Actually, I was a baby when they were airing General Hospital. I was a baby when they were airing most of the soap operas still. Anyways, I say we should fully talk about the show because there's a lot to the show that is more than Dynasty. Because Dynasty didn't last that long, even though it was a soap opera. So, I'm gonna do a transition like the last video. Alright, so As the World Turns is, of course, a soap opera, and it aired on CBS for 54 years, from April 2nd, 1956, to September 17th of 2010. Ima Phillips created the show as a sister show to her other soap opera show, Gilding Light, which also did last for a while, which is also, that next video, it'd be a coincidence if it's next video. It's not, but it is in the schedule. With 13,763 hours of cumulative narrative, As the World Turns has the largest total running time of any TV show. In terms of continuous run of production, As the World Turns at 54 years holds the fourth longest running, soap opera from, of course, General Hospital, Gilding Light, and Days of Our Lives. The show was produced for its first 43 years in Manhattan, and then in Brooklyn from 2000 until 2010. I didn't move until 2011. Is it my fault? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. What am I gonna do? Blame myself for canceling for a TV show getting canceled? It was a soap opera. Soap operas get canceled all the time. Well, not all the time. But the ones that, don't do well anymore, they do get canceled sometimes. Set in the fictional town of Oakdale, Illinois, the show debuted, of course, on April 2nd of 1956 at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, real quick side note, the fact that this came out in 1956, Mickey Dolenz was a child! He was a child! Dang, dude. Thinking about stuff like that is crazy. Alright, let's just keep going. Airing as a 30-minute, serial show. And prior to that date, all serials had been 15 minutes in length. And so As the World Turns and The Edge of Night, which is another soap opera, which they both premiered the same day, actually, at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, were the first two to be 30 minutes in length from their other premieres. At first, viewers were indifferent to the new half-hour serial, but ratings picked up in its second year, eventually reaching the top spot in the daytime Nielsen ratings in fall of 1958. In 1959, the show started a streak of weekly ratings wins that was not interrupted for over 12 years. And if you're wondering, because the show came out in the 50s, when did it switch to color? It switched to color on August 21st, 1967. Well, so while the Monkey Show was still airing, the monkeys had color regardless, so. Except for the screen test, but whatever. Not only did it get color in the 60s, but it did expand from a half hour in length to 1 hour daily on December 1st, 1975. And then, but this is when Edge of Night moved to ABC, so they're both in the same thingy-mabobber, I think. But so yeah, in year-to-date ratings, As the World Turns was the most watched daytime drama from 1958 until 1978, with some 10 million views tuning in each day. And at the height of its, time as a soap opera, the core actors like Helen Wagner, Don McLaughlin, Don Hastings, Eileen Fulton all became nationally known. Helen Wagner and Don Hastings and Eileen Fulton are also the 3 longest-serving actors in the history of American soap operas. The more you know.
The more you know.
The show passed its 10,000th episode on May 12th of 1995 and celebrated its 50th anniversary on May 2nd of 2006. I was 2. And then on September 18th, 2009, the show became the last remaining Procter & Gamble produced soap opera to air on CBS for 15 years until Beyond the Gates premiered on CBS on February 24th, 2025. We can still make soap operas? Wait a minute, what? I mean, obviously you could still make soap operas, but that didn't even occur to me. And now I look stupid right now on camera. But I always look stupid on camera. On December 8th, 2009, CBS announced that it was canceling the show after a run of almost 54 years due to low ratings, which I will talk about this in the other video that will come out one day. But I'm just going to say right now that maybe if y'all didn't do weird shit with them and actually locked in and committed and didn't give us a love triangle and made the internet be like, oh, he should end up with the other guy instead of the main guy, then we wouldn't have that problem. Maybe if you made them get married and have babies, the show would have reached in scores, man. Reached! And keep in mind, they didn't kiss until 2007. I'm not blaming them for the ratings. I'm just saying that we could have had higher ratings if the writers just locked in. Anyways, the show taped its final scenes on June 23rd, 2010. That's like weeks and weeks after one of my sister's birthdays, but whatever. I'm not blaming them. I'm not even blaming myself. Anyways, and its final episode did air on September 17th, 2010, so it's not my fault. Or me. Anyways, reruns of The Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal, and The Young and the Restless took over As the World Turns time slot between September 20th and October 15th of 2010, and for 4 weeks on October 18th, 2010, and then they replaced the show with a new talk show that actually... Is there a fly in my room, or was that just me? Anyways, they replaced As the World Turns with a new talk show called The Talk, which actually ended last year, so... What a quinky dink. So As the World Turns was the creation of Erna Phillips, who beginning in the 1930s had been one of the foremost creators and writers of a radio soap opera, because back then soap operas were radio things. I didn't know that, but now you do now. As a writer, Phillips favored character development and psychological realism over melodrama, and her previous creations, which did include Gilded Light, were especially notable for placing professionals like doctors, lawyers, and clergy at the center of their storylines. Phillips wrote, As the world turns, we know the bleakness of winter, the promise of spring, the fullness of summer, and the harvest of autumn. The cycle of life is complete. This was therefore shown in As the World Turns, with its slow-moving psychological character studies of families headed by legal and medical professionals. The personal and professional lives of doctors and lawyers remained central to As the World Turns throughout its run, and eventually became standard fare on many soap operas. Whereas the 15-minute radio soap operas focused on one central heroic character, an example being Dr. Jim Brent in Phillips' Road of Life, the expanded 30-minute format of As the World Turns enabled Phillips to introduce a handful of professionals within the framework of a family saga. Philip's style favored gradual evolution over radical change. Slow, controversial, and emotionally intense, the show moved at the pace of life itself, and sometimes even more slowly than that. Each new addition to the cast was done in a gradual manner, and was usually a key contact to one of the members of the Hughes family. As such, the show earned a reputation for being quite controversial, though the show did showcase a gay male character in 1988. And before you ask, no, the gay character is not Noah Mayer. Noah didn't come to the show until June of 2007, and it's not Luke Snyder either, as his character didn't come into the show until 2005. Anyways, during the show's early decades, the content-related policies of its sponsor, Procter & Gamble Productions, may have contributed to the perception of conservatism. The household products manufacturing giant typically frowned on storylines in which adultery and other immoral behavior went unpunished, and as late of the 1980s, characters from the primary families were still generally not allowed to go through with the A word. You know the word I'm talking about. You know, the coat hanger. Like I said before, the show premiered in 1956 on April 2nd, and it was the first daytime television drama with a 30-minute running time. All daytime dramas back then were only having like 15-minute runtime, so that is pretty cool. The series was also CBS's first to expand into a 60-minute running time in 1975, and by 1958 the program was the #1 daytime drama in the US, where it remained until 1978. The show also won the Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series 4 times in 87, 91, 2001, and 2003. So believe it or not, this show actually did, I don't know why I said show, it's a soap opera, but it's still a show. Whatever. The point is that there were crossovers with, As the World Turns, with other shows. The first one starting in 1962, where the character of Mitchell Drew was brought to Oakdale after the cancellation of another soap opera called The Brighter Day, which was also created by Erna Phillips, and was originally a radio soap opera. After that, the same character and the actor who played the character was then transferred over to a new soap opera from Procter & Gamble called Another World, which is on this list, shortly after its premiere in 1964. The show Another World was originally conceived to be a spin-off series to As the World Turns. Like several other characters from Another World, Dr. Mitchell Drew, was he a doctor? I don't remember. Well, he wasn't a doctor, I don't know why I call him doctor, but he crossed over for one or more performances on the first Another World spin-off, Somerset, also on this list, which premiered in 1970 of March. One of the characters from the show in 1965, Lisa Miller Hughes, was used as a basis to create a primetime spin-off soap opera, the very first spin-off soap opera called Our Private World. CBS attempted to duplicate the success of rival ABC's Peyton Place, so that explains that, with Lisa leaving Oakdale and moving to Chicago, where she would marry the wealthy John Eldridge, but had an affair with his brother Thomas. Though Our Private World only lasted a few months, and the actress for Lisa did return to As the World Turns in early 1966 after taking a few months off, remnants of Lisa's time in Our Private World were resurrected 26 years later, when it was revealed in 1992 that she had a son off camera, hetero unknown to viewers, before returning to As the World Turns in 1966. Her son, Scott Eldridge, tracked her down as an adult and did remain to be on the show for several years. From 1999 to 2003, shortly after NBC canceled Another World on April 12th of 1999, with the series finale that aired on June 25th of the same year, the characters of Cass and Lila Winthrop, and Jake and Victoria McKinnon, crossed over to As the World Turns briefly, though. Jake and Vicky tended to move to Oakdale, but Vicky was soon killed off in September of 1989, and then appeared as a ghost to Jake and Molly from November 2000 to February 2001. I won't question it. Cass only appeared on a recurring basis through 2003, usually whenever anyone in Oakdale needed an attorney other than resident lawyer Tom Hughes, and Jake remained as a regular on the series until his character was killed off in 2002. Cindy Brooke Harrison, who was played by Zack and Cody's mom, Kim Rhodes, also had a minor appearance in 2001. I guess she was also in another soap opera. Oh yeah, she was in Another World. I don't know why I'm so dumb sometimes. But yeah, basically what you need to know in a nutshell is that some characters from Another World did cross over to As the World Turns, and then in 2005, a number of characters have crossed back and forth between As the World Turns and The Young and the Restless, which if I'm correct, The Young and the Restless is still going on. It's on my list, so I can double check that, because damn, I don't know shit sometimes, guys. I really, my noggin is not noggining, you know? Doesn't work. Alright, I'm trying to check, and I think they stopped doing that show. Just to be sure, though. Oh, wait, never mind. No. It's actually still going, actually. Holy shit, excuse me? The series was renewed by CBS to run through the 2027-2028 television season. Golly. The show came out in 1973, by the way. Anyways, and as the world turns, at the request of Oakdale, Illinois, District Attorney Jessica Griffin, Michael Baldwin, traveled there to serve as attorney for Jack Snyder in a custody hearing involving his late wife Julia Labree's son JJ. Jack Snyder, Michael Park, oh my gosh, the guy from Dear Evan Hansen. But Jack Snyder, is that Luke Snyder's dad? Because I got some choice words to say to him. Is he? Is that I don't damn, I can't tell. Hold on, I have to just, because I'm gonna be dumb as shit if I don't know. I gotta know, like. Oh, no. Wait, no, hold on, wait. Yes or no? Hold on. Hold on. No. No. He's not. I don't see any relation to him. Yeah. And then there's more stuff in here that I don't really want to get into. It's too much work, and none of this is making sense to me, so we're just gonna move on.
What? What the fuck?
Okay, so I know this is a crazy thing to even mention, but this really did happen! On November 22nd, 1963, the live CBS broadcast of As the World Turns began as always at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. In this episode, the Hughes family was discussing plans for Thanksgiving. 10 minutes later, a CBS News Bulletin slide suddenly appeared on the screen, and Walter Cronkite gave the first news report of shots being fired at the motorcade in which President Kennedy was traveling. Here's the bulletin from the CBS News as read by Walter.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting. More details just arrived. These details about the same as previously. President Kennedy shot today just as his motorcade left downtown Dallas. Mrs. Kennedy jumped up and grabbed Mr. Kennedy. She called, "Oh no." The motorcade sped on. United Press says that the wounds for President Kennedy perhaps could be fatal. Repeating, a bulletin from CBS News, President Kennedy has been shot by a would-be assassin in Dallas, Texas. Stay tuned to CBS News for further details.
I just want to point out that each of the monkeys have canonically watched that news broadcast, but that's besides the point. At the end of this bulletin, CBS rejoined As the World Turns, which was still in progress. The cast performing the episode live was not yet aware of the rapidly developing situation. However, just before Don Hastings and Henderson Forsythe began the third scene of the show, Hastings overheard cameraman Phil Volansky talking to the control room through a headset. "Don't tell the actors what? The president's been shot?" The actors received their cues and began the scene while Walter Cronkite was in the middle of reporting further information from Dallas. CBS then returned to the show in the middle of the third scene, which would be the last regular program viewed by the television audience that day. During the commercial break that followed, the CBS News Bulletin slide appeared again, and Cronkite resumed with audio-only reports of the developments in Dallas until the top of the hour, when CBS News was ready to go on the air with video. Once the episode came to a close with Eileen Fulton in the final scene, the cast was finally informed of the news. As NBC and ABC, the other 2 major American TV networks, were not programmed in that time slot then, the 1:30 to 2 o'clock Eastern time period belonging to their local affiliates, As the World Turns has the distinction of being the last regular American network programming broadcast for the next 4 days, as the assassination and the funeral of President Kennedy and transition of power to President Lyndon B. Johnson took center stage. Sorry, I was hungry. I wanted an apple. But that's besides the point. As the World Turns enjoyed a virtually uninterrupted reign as the highest rated soap opera from the 50s to the 70s, like 58 to 78. Tying for first place with NBC's Daytime Another World, which is another soap opera, as well as Days of Our Lives. And by the mid-1960s, it was so firmly entrenched that its strongest competition, Let's Make a Deal, which is a game show, despite developing a devoted fan base in its own right and becoming one of daytime's most popular game shows, could not come close to matching it in the Nielsen ratings. Its strength was such that ABC ran half-hour drama reruns of the 1 to 2 p.m. Slot in the mid-60s, and NBC, after losing deal to ABC in 68, ran a total of 8 shows, all short-lived with the exception of 3 on a Match, which was also a game show, which lasted 3 years, against As the World Turns and Let's Make a Deal from that point until 1975. As that year began, Another World was expanded into 60 minutes with its first hour-long episode airing on January 6, 1975. Although this was not directly a directly affect thingy, As the World Turns, as the two shows were not in competition for anything other than the overall ratings win. CBS's afternoon lineup suffered some ratings damage as the popular soap put a dent in the ratings after 2 popular afternoon game shows, The Price is Right and Match Games, on NBC or whatever. I don't know. This is getting confusing. The article that what I'm reading right now is starting to get weird. So I say we just skim through this a bit and get to the end of it. So As the World Turns remained at 1:30 to 12:30 p.m. until March 20th of 1987. I know I skipped ahead a bunch, but bear with me, I had to do it. When CBS canceled the 5-year-old Capital, another soap opera, in favor of The Bold and the Beautiful. Is that on my schedule? Don't know if it is, because if it isn't, that'll be next year. So, anyways, CBS scheduled it for 1:30 to 12:30 p.m. and finally settled As the World Turns at 2 to 1 p.m., where it remained until its final network episode in September of 2010. Although facing the full length of Another World and One Life to Live once again, the Douglas Marland era of 1985 to 1983 had a resurgence in ratings, and by 1981, it was back in its once habitable top 4 placing. As the World Turns survived NBC's cancellation of its sister series, Another World, in 1999. On December 8, 2009, CBS confirmed that it would not be renewing As the World Turns. The final CBS episode was taped on June 23, 2010 at the JC Studios in Brooklyn and aired on September 17, 2010. The final scene showed Dr. Bob Hughes, played by Don Hastings, retiring from Oakdale Memorial Hospital. In the scene, Bob is packing up his office and talking to his wife, Kim Hughes, and as she leaves and tells Bob to take as much time as he needed to say goodbye, Bob looked around, put his nameplate in his briefcase, and spoke the show's final line, "Good night." That line was a bookend to the beginning of the show in 1956, and the first line spoken, "Good morning." The camera panned to the globe on Bob's desk spinning, a reference to the show's title, before the final fade out. Alright, so now let's talk about this thing called Intern. In 2006, CBS launched a reality show called Intern on their broadcast channel InnerTube, the winner of which would go on to receive a 13-week acting contract on As the World Turns. The eventual winner of Intern was Alec Charcock, an 18-year-old student/pizza transportation artist from New York. Yeah, I don't know what a pizza transportation artist is, but whatever. Alex made his debut as the character Elwood Hoffman on September 26, 2006. A 1-hour best-of show aired on CBS on November 24, 2006. CBS then launched Intern 2 in the summer of 2007. For the new season, the age restrictions expanded to allow for middle-aged viewers to participate, and there were 9 competitors instead of 8. The winner of the second season was Ryan Serhant, a recent graduate of Hamilton College. Serhant made his debut in the contract role on November 7, 2007. He played Evan Walsh the Fifth, I'm really bad at Roman numerals, but no, I got it right anyways, because that's the son of Evan Walsh the Third, so yeah, I was right, the 4th. Anyways. He is a hotshot young biochemist prodigy who comes home to Oakdale to try to convince Craig Montgomery to invest in the cutting-edge biomedical tech field. He began taping on September 24, 2007, 2 days after the close of his off-Broadway play, Purple Hearts. Intern 3 began airing on April 2008 and features 17 episodes, but it doesn't really mention who won for that one. Literally, like, at all. This is all the, pop culture, like, stuff for the show. I didn't even realize most of these were mentioned. Like, wait a minute, what is this one? Nickelodeon once featured a series of shorts called As Our School Bus Turns. Oh my god, I want to find that so bad. Alright, we got SpongeBob. And then we also got Tom and Jerry. These are actually insane, most of these. Wait, Muppets character Dr. Rolf in Veterans. Rolf's a doctor? No, he's not. What is this, bro? And that's the whole thing about As the World Turns. Now, let's see. For the next video, I wanted to talk about One Life to Live, but I think I would rather make a part 2 of sorts to the As the World Turns video and talk about Luke and Noah, aka Nuke, because why not? I understand I'm not going off my schedule, but you know what? I just put that schedule up because I thought it was going to be like that regardless. But then, so sometimes things don't happen the way you want it to. And you know what? That's okay in the end. So the next video, well, it'll also be some breaking news and a reaction video. And then I'll talk about Luke and Noah. But other than that, there will still be more videos to look at. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell so you can get post notifications or whatever. Be notified for all my videos. And, what else? No, that's actually pretty much it. So I will see you all in the next video. Transition!